My name is Cornelius Lindsey, and thank you for being on my YouTube channel. I hope you subscribe so you can make sure that you're up to date with all the other videos that I post. But I wanted to just take some time to just kind of answer a question. I get a lot of questions, and I want to be able to do this more often, just to kind of be able to answer some questions that I get. One of the questions that I've been getting here lately a lot. I post a lot of I post a relatively good amount of workout videos where it may show me in the gym working out or outside working out or me running. And people like to ask, well, why do you work out so hard? Or why are you trying to work out? What's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? And, this workout journey for me, it started some years ago. I was that short and chubby kid. I don't want to necessarily say fat kid, but that's how I felt. I was that kid who was, kind of taunted and mocked because of my weight. And, I had all the nicknames. I was called Butterball from, the turkeys, Butterball. When I wore red shirts, of course, I got Kool-Aid Man. I was called Pillsbury Doughboy, and people would walk by me and poke me in my belly and do the woo thing. It was funny while I was there, but at the same time, it was just killing me inside. And I remember having all these different thoughts of, do I want to commit suicide? And I just hate the way I looked. So I spent a majority of my youth walking around with these big jackets on, just trying to just cover up who I was. In fact, I was on the bus going home from school one day, and it was the week of Valentine's Day, and when you're in school, it's all cool, and people are passing out the cards and passing out the candy, and you're passing around love notes, and that's usually when you're finding out who likes you, who doesn't like you. So needless to say, I didn't really get a lot of those. And it was a lot of that attention that I can freely admit that I wanted. I wanted somebody to like me. I wanted somebody to appreciate me. I knew like my parents did and my sister did and people like that, but I wanted somebody else outside of that to kind of pick me as one of the cool kids and one of the good looking guys. I get on the bus this day, and somebody hands me a box, and I'm all excited. It's all wrapped up nicely. I'm thinking, man, it's a nice Valentine's Day gift. And I'm on the bus and I'm opening it up, and people are all on the bus and they're watching me as I'm doing this, because many of them, of course, they knew. And I opened it up and somebody gave me a bra. I'm like, really, bruh? But I have this bra, I have this gift, and I'm just like, what do you do? Everybody's laughing, and it's turned into this big spectacle, and and I'm the butt of the jokes. And I remember my ninth grade year in high school. I walked around all the time with this big bubble coat on. It would be burning up hot. This is Metro Atlanta. Georgia heat, and sometimes the humidity can just be off the charts, and it's just hot. And I was getting in the classroom, and people would ask me, they said, "Are you hot?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not hot at all." And underneath this coat, I'm sweating profusely. I'm sweating all on top of my head. I sweat easily. So just think, it's 90 degrees outside, and we had somewhat of an open campus. So me walking to trailers and walking to places, it's hot. And I'm walking to these places, and it is burning up hot. I have this big jacket on. But that became like a security blanket for me. It became a place of comfort for me. It became a place where I didn't feel like I needed to let people see who I really was. So I wore all these different layers of clothes so that nobody would really be able to tell who I was, because I was so ashamed of myself. And I didn't have that type of confidence. And so I started this whole workout journey. I remember going to a gym. It was a 24-hour gym at the time. And when I was there, the owner overheard me just talking about a little bit about my story. And at the end of my freshman high school year, I'm in class, and it's this girl who I thought was gorgeous, and I was like, I want to ask her out. I want to see him. It's the last day of school. I want to ask her, hey, can we go to the movies or something? So I'm sitting next to her in class, and I'm thinking, we're always talking in class, or at least I'm always giving her answers in class. I asked her, hey, would you like to go to a movie this summer? And she looks at me, and these words that I dreaded hearing from her came out of her mouth. She said, I would, but I don't really date fat guys. And I'm thinking to myself, like, You just stuck me in the heart. It was so bad. So I go to the 24-hour gym and I'm like, hey, this is my story. I know I'm too young to kind of come in here, but I'm hoping you can give me a break. And the owner comes up to me and he says, listen, young man, he says, if you can commit to coming in here, 5 days, at least 5 days a week, if you can commit to the eating schedule I give you, if you can commit to what I tell you to do, I will train you in this gym, and I'll train you for free. And I'm like, I'll do it. And I remember going up there during the summer, at least 5 days a week. And I remember being on the Stairmaster for more than, at least 60 minutes. And I mean, climbing those stairs and working that ab machine. And I went back to school my sophomore year, and I had nearly dropped almost 40 pounds. It was amazing. I'd gone back. The weight loss was so dramatic that many people didn't even know who I was. And so I would have to, some people thought I was a new kid, but it was like that confidence began to come back, and it first began to dawn on me, what, I can begin to really, begin to shape what type of body that I'm looking for. I can really begin to shape the type of image that I'm running after. But bringing this all the way up to here, I mean, I've gone through many forms of transformation with my body. I've matured in a lot of ways to not just put my identity solely in the way that I look, but because a lot of those things were embedded in me as a child, it was difficult for me to really just kind of let go and just say, okay, well, this is who I am, and it is what it is. But I kind of pushed working out. I kind of pushed all that stuff to the side, and I was like, I'm not really into it anymore. I really want to get into it. Fast forward up to about a year and a half ago, where I was like, I really want to get back into this. So I started doing some kickboxing and started doing some other things, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm really liking this. I'm starting to see something else with this, and with my with my Christian faith, I began to see such a strong parallel. Paul instructs this younger Timothy. He instructs this young preacher. He says, understand something. Bodily discipline, bodily exercise. It's temporary. It's only for a short amount of time. But you have to understand something. What this older mentor, this older pastor is saying to this young man. He's not saying that bodily discipline is of no importance at all. He's saying in comparison to spiritual discipline, to discipline of prayer and discipline of fasting and discipline of reading the scriptures. In comparison to spiritual discipline, we can't promote physical discipline above spiritual discipline. So it's not about lifting the weights and not reading the word. It's not about running 3 miles and not spending time in prayer. So we have to make sure we elevate the right thing. But I began to just see something in my physical discipline. I started to see how as I remained disciplined in running the miles, as I remained disciplined in going to the gym, lifting the weights, I started to see some things that really began to parallel with my spiritual discipline. I started to see and it began to just dawn on me, if I can wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym, then I can wake up at 3 a.m. to go pray. And that discipline began to just coincide together. If I can say no to the donuts and to the cookies, and anybody who knows me know I love oatmeal raisin cookies. But I know if I can say no to the cookies, I can put down the donuts and I can really be disciplined with my eating, then that's going to help with my fasting. So now with fasting becomes a breeze because it's like I'm already accustomed to this. I'm accustomed to this discipline. As the Bible says that we are to make sure that we discipline our bodies, that we tame our bodies. In the same way, I mean, a lot of that helps. A lot of that begins to help and it begins to form when I'm working on my body and I'm disciplining my body. When I'm in the gym and I have that one last bench press that I'm trying to get, it's like, can you endure even when it's difficult? When the pressure is there, and I can feel the pressure, but can I endure when that pressure is there? I can feel the pressure, I sense it, but can I push it up? Can I still begin to push it? It also begins to show me things about accountability, that when other people are there, when I have my brothers there with me and we're in the gym, we're hitting it together, we can keep each other accountable. Hey, when my guys are with me, I know I can lift more weights because I know they're going to be there not only to spot me when I need it, but they're also going to be there to help push me to say, man, you know what, you did that right there. Let's throw another 25 on. Let's see if you can hit it. Let's see if you can max out a little bit more. Let's see if you can go the extra mile. And when you have friends like that, when you understand that accountability, it ultimately helps your spiritual walk as well. Because we're not in this thing by ourselves. I believe God created us for a relationship, not just relationship with Him, but relationship with other people. So that accountability begins to work. But I began to see a lot of my physical discipline beginning to work in my spiritual discipline. And now, I mean, even still elevating the spiritual discipline to where it needs to be, but making sure that I'm not just letting myself go. And then practically speaking, one of the things that I love, and my wife and I, we sat down and we talked about this when we first got married. We didn't want to let ourselves just go. I think one of the new fads coming out is the dad bod, and whatever that is to society. I don't ever want to just kind of let myself go. I still recognize the scripture says that my body is no longer my own. My body now belongs to my wife, and I want to make sure that I'm healthy enough, and that my wife, this body that now also belongs to her, as we are one, that she loves this healthy body that I have, and that I have the endurance to be with my family. I have the strength to lift up my family. I can be able to endure, and I can be able to go, and I can be able to lift, and I know that I can still be pleasing and pleasurable to my spouse. And I'm not, a lot of times, even as believers, man, we run into so many different health diseases and different things that could be cured and could be, they're very much just preventable. But for some reason, we still get ourselves so entangled in them because of the things we eat, because of our lack of exercise, because of just stuff that we do not do. And, God called no lazy disciples. He called no lazy men. And just throwing processed foods in our mouth and just not taking time, to do what's important. And I know people come to me and they say, well, Cornelius, my problem is I don't have time to do those things. Well, the issue is that you have time, you just don't really have a desire. You have time, you don't have a desire. So on your lunch break, instead of just going and getting a bag of chips because it seems easy, grab a salad. When you come home from dinner, when you come home from work and you get ready to have dinner, instead of just grabbing the pizza and throwing a pizza in the thing because you said I'm tired, then eating something that is going to be healthier, eating something that's going to give you energy. A lot of times we eat a lot of foods right before we eat a lot of heavy foods. We go to bed, we wake up and we're just very lethargic and we're just kind of all over the place. It's like we just downed a whole bottle of Benadryl and we're kind of woozy and drowsy and we don't feel like getting up. And many of us don't realize that our energy is zapped because our body is just depleted of nutrients. We're not taking our vitamins. We're not keeping up with ourselves. And I always tell people all the time, how do I expect to do what God called me to do if I'm sitting in a hospital bed just with needles and stuff up my arm because I didn't lead a disciplined lifestyle? And I also know one thing. It's difficult for you to call yourself a disciple if you're not truly disciplined. A disciple is a disciplined one. And I want to make sure that I lead a very disciplined lifestyle. I want to make sure that I keep my spiritual disciplines first, but then I also make sure that I have my physical disciplines. And I know what they are, and I'm making sure that I'm continuing to just take care of myself. Lastly, people always ask me, hey, are you training for something? And, there have been some triathlons and stuff like that. And I mean, some races and stuff that I'm looking forward to doing here in the future. But, the biggest thing that I train for, and people always ask me, are you training for something? I always tell them, man, I'm training for life. Because life can be difficult. Life comes with different pressures. It comes with different problems. And I want to make sure that I can endure and I can be able to have the strength to lift it up. I know my strength is in Christ. I know where I get my strength from. But physically, if something were to happen, I want to make sure that I'm strong enough to be able to handle it. I want to make sure that I get those emotions out and I find a better outlet to get out the stress and the emotions of life and stuff like that instead of diving into other things that are really of no earthly value and really begin to produce absolutely nothing towards eternity. So, I'm training for life, and I just encourage you, wherever you are in your life, really begin to look at what you're putting in. If you're putting garbage in, you're going to only get garbage out. If you're not putting anything that's going to feed the nutrients inside of your body, then guess what? You're not going to have any energy. And you can't really say that you're going to be really disciplined if you're not doing anything to remain disciplined. So, of course, physical discipline is not it's not higher than physical discipline is not higher than spiritual discipline. But, Paul is not saying that physical discipline is of no benefit at all. It is very important. And we need to make sure that we look at it as important as it truly is. So I'm encouraging you, man, and ladies, work hard, be disciplined, exercise, look at what you're eating. Sit down and talk to a dietitian if you need to. A lot of diseases and a lot of things could be cured just by changing your diet. we're so addicted. Most of our world and our society now, we're so addicted to drugs. Just the pharmaceutical company, that company of witchcraft. I mean, it's all suited to help cater towards a greater need, and most of it is ran by money, not necessarily health. And if you truly want to have good health, then you probably need to do some research on it, have some knowledge on it, seeing what our body needs to take in and what it doesn't. So I'm encouraging you. I mean, what I do is what I do, but at the same time, I'm going to encourage you to do your own research, begin to just make some healthy decisions in your own life, begin to want to have a healthier lifestyle so that you can live a long life, and you can begin to, really begin to take care of your family and your children, and you can begin to see your grandkids and so on and so forth because of the lifestyle that you live. Man, I love you. God bless you. And please subscribe to my channel. God bless you.